motivation researchers, and welcome to another one of our Motivation Monday videos. My name is Marissa Green, and I am currently a third-year doctoral student in educational psychology at The Ohio State University, and I'm here today with Julie Turner, Professor Emerita of the Psychology Department at the University of Notre Dame and co-editor of the American Educational Research Journal. In today's video, I'll be speaking with Julie about her thoughts about translating motivation research into policy and practice. So Julie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be with you, Marissa.
Great. So the first question I have for you, Julie, is how can we communicate our research to policymakers and practitioners?
The first person I thought about in terms of how did this research become so, and this is motivation research, and I'm talking about Carol Dweck's research. Her research went from the laboratory to the front page of every blog, every newspaper. It went on the Today Show. It's been everywhere. And so I don't know the answer to that, but I think that we could probably find out, what that progression was, because for years, Carol Dweck was doing laboratory research and she was publishing in Child Development and other places like that, and that only reached researchers like us. And so I know that she did write a popular version for the general public of her research program called Mindsets, and I imagine you know about that. And, that may have been step one, and then the media picked it up. I don't know, but I think she's a really good case study. Last year at AERA, it was their centennial year, and under the leadership of Oakes, who was the president, she knows, I don't know many, maybe 25 eminent researchers in different areas, gave them access to, I don't even know what you call this person, I'll say a trainer who knows how to do things like TED Talks, who knows how to package information very effectively. And they called them Ed Talks, but they were clearly modeled on TED Talks. And you can go to all these Ed Talks, and published with them were policy documents or something like that. Anyway, you can see it on the website. And that's a format that I think if we wanted to, we could certainly use to reach audiences beyond our academic audiences. I don't know exactly how we would do it, but the point of them is to take big ideas, to make them accessible to people who aren't experts in the area, and to make it short and sweet and really emphasize those punchlines. So that's, how or where those would go on, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's a great idea that could be developed by people who are thinking creatively. Strategies for writing op-eds. I think op-ed is probably one of the very best things that we could do in terms of getting our ideas out there. I know that often, this is a little sidebar, but I don't know if any of you are familiar with David Brooks, who's a New York Times op-ed columnist. He's also on news programs on TV. And he's a very curious man, and he sort of fell in love with sociological research about 10 years ago, and it's like, oh my heavens. But he has spread these ideas, through his writing. So there again, getting our ideas, communicating with journalists. He's a journalist, and so there are some tips on doing that. Also writing op-eds. And there's another short video called Why Academics Should Contribute to the Public Sphere, Practical Tips for Op-Eds and TV Interviews, How Journalists and Bloggers Decide What Type of Education Research to Cover. Blogs is obviously one way. I think blogs is probably one of the best ways to get to teachers. So investigating how our work would be, covered on blogs, or sending it into blogs, or getting in touch with people who write those blogs, and there are, a million. I mean, I must get information from 10 blogs a week easily in my email. APA, on the APA website, they list options for obtaining and offering news about psychological topics. So going to that website, again, could be a source of ideas for things we've never thought about before. Nancy Perry told me that this is something that Division 15 is really interested in and is working on simultaneously, and that she may even be doing a Google Chat or something about it. So emailing Nancy Perry at University of British Columbia could also, just say, I'm interested. I would like to participate. I think that would be a great thing for people who are really serious about getting our ideas out there.
Well, thanks so much. All those resources are really helpful, so I appreciate you sharing them. And my second and last question is, what role, if any, does pure research without practical implications have in educational psychology?
Educational psychologists, I think, are really good at seeing the potential of that. And it's something that I've done a lot. So I think that is how we think. While Carol Dweck would have had, perhaps in the past, some trouble or no interest maybe in translating her research into classrooms, it certainly has been done. And I know actually I believe it's very well-known papers, Blackwell, then there's second author, and I think Dweck is the third author, 2007, Child Development. This was the first publication we had about kind of taking the mindsets research into classrooms, and they developed a program that is in schools. And so that is a very good example of how basic research was extremely helpful to us. Walter Michel's work and how that has been so developed into self-regulation studies in ed psych. I think we can do whatever kind of research we want, but if we're more interested in applied research, which I am, then I still find the basic research very fruitful. And I think one of our talents is making that translation into the real world.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your input on that. I think it was really helpful. And thank you so much for spending your time with us today and providing us with all of this helpful information.
You're very welcome.